Hello, my name is Susan Reynolds. I am the National Center for Learning Disabilities field organizer. I am a parent to a little boy. His name is Ian, and I'm thinking he's going to be joining us probably in about 30 minutes. You'll see him walking down the hallway. So I do apologize for that. He has ADHD and he was recently diagnosed with a processing disorder. My husband actually just retired, gosh, what, two and a half months ago now, Amy, I think, from the Air Force. And I used to advocate for military families also impacted by disability, and with us moving around a lot. As you can imagine, you get to learn quite a few things moving and dealing with various health systems and education systems. And it just gives you a lot of knowledge. And I'm also an adult with 2 learning disabilities and ADHD. So I am the grown-up version. I like to say this all the time. I am the grown-up version of your children, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending. And with us is our phenomenal parent leader from Texas, Miss Amy Trainer.
Phenomenal, I'm not sure, but I am here. So I'm glad you all are here too. I am Amy, and I am an occupational therapist and assistive technology practitioner by trade. 20 years in the public schools, and have taken a turn in my career. We're at a pivot point, so I'm not doing that right now, but I do get to do this work with NCLD, which I'm excited about, and hopeful that it turns into some really amazing things. I get to parent a daughter who's in 5th grade, Olivia. She probably will make an appearance too if you were in at the beginning. She's never too far away. So anyway, so she's got a specific learning disability and dyslexia, and we've been on that path for a while. So I'm feeling the pain from both sides of the table, being able to be a professional supporting kids and then raising it. So we do it 24/7. And I also right now am writing for a newsletter and own kind of a thing. So I'm glad everybody's here to take part in this 5th series. I can't believe we're already here to 5th.
I know,
time flies, right, Susan?
It is flying. It really is. So the importance of transition planning, which is why we are here this evening. Transition planning is, what's a big deal? So what is a transition plan? It is the formal process which assists students with disabilities to prepare for life after high school. The transition plans are more than brainstorming sessions. They are detailed plans meant to assist students with disabilities to achieve independent living. And the plan will have specific goals with steps on how to achieve those goals. So transition planning, this is a natural process in your child's education. IDEA includes transition planning within the law. That's how important transition planning is. And planning your child's post-high school life, this isn't just a dream, right? This is reality. And it becomes reality because of this transition plan. So the purpose of our transition plan, or not ours, including me, but the transition plan for your child or for a student, is to establish post-secondary goals, outline the steps to help achieve those goals, sharing of community and state resources that assist students with disabilities, learn about self-advocacy, and ensure success outside the public K-12 school setting. Let me make sure. I wrote a little something here to remind myself. Having a plan in writing makes sense because a transition plan is more, but a transition plan is more than a sensible plan. This is a valuable plan that now becomes tangible, right? And that's why we need to have our transition plans. And Amy and I are big fans of phenomenal quotes, of great quotes, right? I think almost every presentation we've done, we've had a quote in there that we recommend to parents. Print this out, put this in your IEP binder, remember this with every step. And this comes from the Pacer Institute, which we plan on sharing their information later on in the presentation. A truly successful transition process is the result of comprehensive team planning that is driven by dreams, desires, and abilities of youth. A transition plan provides the basic structure for preparing an individual to live, work, and play in the community as fully and independently as possible. And so I think, I don't know, Amy, how you feel about this quote, but I think that this quote really wraps up nicely what we're doing here this evening. We want our students to live, work, and play in the community as fully and as independently as possible. So now we have to get into the details though, because there are a lot of details. And I'm excited because we've broken them down, and I think in a nice way. So Amy, I think it's time for you to take it all back over.
It is. Yep. So the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act idea is, what all of us that are navigating the special education side, I know some of us are probably under the 504 side, but SPED side, that is what contains the mandatory transition provisions, right? So your child's IEP, and here in Texas, that conversation starts generally around 14. It must contain supports and services that are needed to assist the student so that they can learn the necessary skills to achieve their post-high school goals. Okay, so IDEA absolutely requires for transition to start no later than age 16. And like I said, I know here it's by the child's 14th birthday. It may vary, I guess, district by district, but it's before they're 16. So in the next slide, we're going to get a little bit more detailed about transition.
Amy, you're breaking up just a little bit.
When we get one. Are you scrolling us, Susan?
No, but you're breaking up just a little bit.
All right, so what is in? Oh, I am?
Yes.
Oh, I'm unstable. Let me see. Hold on. I'm on. Hold on. Let me holler at my people and make sure that they're. Let's see if this helps. Okay, had to use my mom voice for a second. So students, post-secondary interest, this should be an inventory or a conversation or something, what they're interested in education-wise, and what careers they're kind of investigating. Appropriate post-secondary goals that are based on age-appropriate transition assessments. Assessments should be related to training, education, employment, and independent living skills. Students will be encouraged to start attending IEP meetings and to lead them. After interests and goals are determined, the IEP team develops a plan to implement the goals. Transition goals are similar to IEP goals, so make them SMART. So SMART is our acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-sensitive, time-bound. Look at me go.
I was like, where did the
and
T
it's
go?
late.
I could not remember.
What is that T? So key and critical here is there in our kind of orangey red font is the evaluation, and to make sure that your child is getting their reevaluation before they leave school. So oftentimes our kids, especially kiddos with SLDs who don't require another evaluation to reestablish eligibility, that's something that we know doesn't go away. And so that's sometimes the district might be interested in not doing an evaluation. I would encourage you to always make sure that by that 12th grade year that you've got an updated evaluation so that you don't miss your opportunity for the most current educational setting recommendations going into post-secondary.
Okay.
All right, so transition plans in 504 for those of you who may have kiddos that are covered by this. So students with 504, it's not the same. It's not, you don't have the same rights to school-based transition plannings as the students with an IEP through IDEA have. So you want to make sure and ask your school district to provide it, if they do, or what it can entail a transition planning for your kiddo. And if the school doesn't, there are other ways. So you don't have to lose hope. It would be great if everybody did, but there are other ways for you to be able to plan with support to do that. Let's see. So I'm going to look at my notes so I don't miss anything because there are some specific sections of the Rehab Act that I want to mention to you.
I went to the next slide for you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because that's where I am. I'm already ahead of myself. So here are your options, right? You have a 504 plan. District doesn't provide the transition services that they do for the kiddos under the IDEA umbrella. So what do you do next? First, you research your state's vocational rehab center. Everything is a little different state to state. If you've tuned into any of our academies to this point, you know that we always say, here's your state disclaimer. And we know being in Texas, everything's different in Texas for sure. So vocational rehab can help with looking for possible careers, finding a job, supporting in that job through a job coach. And if needed, maybe that's assistive technology that's going to support in the workplace as well. Classes that can help teach independent living skills, apprenticeships, programs, or on-the-job training where that student can actually learn the skill that needs to be done to be fulfilling that independent work situation. And then that ever important self-advocacy training and assistance so that your kiddo is then driving their own future, basically, because now they're going to be an adult, right? So certainly set up an appointment with your your vocational rehab center, that they can help you navigate the eligibility, what steps you need to take. That's their gig. They're used to having those kiddos coming on, and needing the support of the parents and the kiddos. So with the vocational rehab, they will develop an IPE, which is called an individual plan for employment. Okay, and so that's similar to what has been provided in the district for an IEP, which is your plan for education. So the IPE will describe an employment goal, a timeline to achieve that goal, and a description of the service and the service providers if needed to attain that goal. The big difference between the IEP transition plan and the IPE is that the IPE focuses on employment, not continuing special education, specialized instruction, and that sort of thing. So the focus is employment. So the Rehab Act, like I mentioned, does have many sections that are critical for supporting students with disabilities. Section 501, that's the section that prevents discrimination of federal employment for people who have disabilities. Section 503 prevents employment discrimination by programs that receive federal funds. And then Section 508 requires electronic and information technology to be accessible for people with disabilities.
If I can just jump in
Please
for
do.
a minute. For the parents here who are wondering about vocational rehabilitation centers in your states, I've actually used them for myself. As I've said earlier, just maybe 5-10 minutes ago, I have 2 learning disabilities and I'm also ADHD, and I have gone to these centers. I've seen I went to one here in Virginia. I went to one in North Carolina when I was in school there. When we were stationed in Nebraska, I used the one there too. And yes, they are different state to state, but I will tell you this, the overwhelming theme that I saw in three states, one in the Midwest, no less, is that they are excited to help people with disabilities find higher education, complete these employment goals, and they are very dedicated. And it's exciting because I think that what we forget as a population is I think we forget that we can use these and access these same facilities and these same supports and services, and they're there for everybody, right? I mean, dyslexia is going to be there for life, and so the state voc rehab or your counties or your cities voc rehab is there to help, and I highly recommend reaching out and seeing what yours can do. So that's my little plug. Sorry. I will step off my soapbox.
No, I'm glad that you said that. And I think oftentimes as parents, when we get to that point that we are actually at that transition, our experience may not have always been so positive and supportive. And you get to that point and you forget that there are people that are really there and really are wanting to do what needs to happen. And I think that that's what we see at voc rehab, because that's, like you said, they're really excited to support that, you know?
Yeah, it was really nice. It was one of the most pleasant experiences. So post-secondary education. Are you taking this one, Amy?
Either I can't remember. Oh, I can do that. Yeah. So if your kiddo plans on attending college at whatever level, there are steps that you can take together to make sure that that's a smooth transition. So I would certainly recommend reviewing the program and the degree path that they're interested in. Ask about campus life, and if it's inclusive to students with disabilities, definitely talk with the disability service office on that university or college campus about the accommodations. Look into the financial aid process. There's a lot of aid that can go into supporting students with disabilities if you ask. And the student needs to learn about their own rights and responsibilities so that they can embrace that self-advocacy. And I know that there are some universities, as far as post-secondary goes, that do tout themselves, if you will, as dyslexia friendly or certain categories of disability that they really do embrace, and they say, you know, look, we're here and we want to support you. And so I think we're going to see that more and more over the next years. I'm hopeful anyway, but I think that's something that's definitely out there to consider when you're doing post-secondary choices.
Okay. My favorite, the Americans with Disabilities Act. If any of you have attended an advocate academy with us before, you know I'm a big fan of the ADA. It is it's glorious to me. So the Americans with Disabilities Act. So this also becomes a law that is applicable to your child even now, even in school. The ADA is there. But if your child decides, oh, I don't want to do post-secondary, I just want to get a job, I need some time, right? So they want to go to work. And this is where ADA will come in. They'll start to provide protections in the workplace. And this is actually, this is a direct quote out of ADA. The ADA protects the civil rights of individuals who have a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, have a record of such impairment, or are regarded as having such an impairment. Major life activities include walking, seeing, hearing, speaking, breathing, learning, working, caring for oneself, and performing manual tasks. So the ADA is the most comprehensive federal civil rights law to date. And it now includes access, well, it always has included access to employment, state and local government programs and services, access to places like public places, and public accommodation, and to places where public accommodation, such as businesses, transportation, and nonprofit service providers are, as well as telecommunications are now included under the ADA. And then in 2008, the ADA was actually amended and the definition of disability was clarified and expanded because the definition was meant to be interpreted broadly. So now all of a sudden this list of this seeing, walking, hearing, speaking, breathing, learning, working, all of that has now been expanded quite a bit. And we now see reading, concentrating, standing, lifting, and bending. Also included are diagnoses such as depression, diabetes, asthma, anxiety, or even digestive disorders, which have symptoms that can be episodic or in remission. So it's amazing what is all included. So I love it that the ADA has expanded in 2018. And so what they're saying now is that even if you are, I don't know, let's say you take some kind of a medication to help with like a digest, let's say you have Crohn's disease, right? And you take something to help manage your Crohn's disease. Even though it might be in remission because of the medication, it doesn't matter. The ADA will still provide workplace protections and coverages. And so this includes our student population as they become young adults in the workplace. And so the ADA is always something to keep in the back of your mind. And in the back of your child's mind as they start to look for work and start, trying to access, I don't know, I see so many online job applications now that you can have them made ADA compliant. So things like that. So the ADA is always going to be there for us. I don't know why I got too wordy. I'm sorry. I don't know what my brain kind of disappeared on that one. So, and that's it so far. And so as you guys know, we always include a list of hyperlinked articles for you all. So there's the IEP transition plan, the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services. That's actually through the Department of Education. We have transition planning from Rights Law, vocational rehabilitation, 504 plans, post-secondary, and then I included two articles on 504 plans and transitions. And then we have a bunch of new resources. Well, not a bunch, but we have 2 or 3 new resources. The one that I stumbled upon, which I thought might be of interest to everyone, is this one from the National Parent Center on Transitions and Employment, the PACER, www.pacer.org. They have really, because I spent a lot of time looking over this website, they've organized the information wonderfully by law. So it's, IDEA and transitions, Section 504 and transitions, the ADA. And I thought, well, thank you. That's going to be so helpful. That's such a great website. I really appreciate it. And then you have the Office of Disability Employment Policy, which is actually through the U.S. Department of Labor. ODEP is one of those, well, they're just a really good agency. They've put together a lot of information on employment, on flexible work environments and things like that, on how to be supportive to people with disabilities. Parent Center Hub, as always, has great information, and once again, Rights Law. And the Job Advocacy Network, askjan.org, actually is part of ODEP, is part of the Office of Disability Employment Policy. And they've put this together to help people with disabilities find gainful employment. So, and then Amy, you have a bunch. You've added a new one, yay.
I did add a new one, yes, and that's the one I'm going to actually highlight, which is why I color coded it to prompt myself. I'm not going to read all of these because most of them have been covered on our previous academies. They're all, the ones that we all are familiar with at this time, but specific to transition, the Garrett Center on Transition and Disability Studies is housed at Sam Houston State University. So if you're in the greater Houston area, you know of Sam Houston. And they're incredible. They have amazing resources for teachers, for campus-based staff, so that they can become more familiar and actually have some certification or advanced studies program on how to actually support transition more effectively, as well as for families and for the individual who's actually doing the transitioning themselves. And so I would encourage you to go and plunk around on their website. They have a lot of great resources for parents specific to all about transition. So that's the one I wanted to highlight the most tonight because it is an addition.
Nice. And you all have some really great resources in Texas.
And I just told Catherine that the Texas Workforce Commission, I thought we had put that on here, and maybe we didn't put that on here.
Do you need me to add that on before?
And we can add that. Yeah, we'll add it on before we send out the slides that we add that. Yep. I would have. No, I thought we did, but
I thought we did too. That's my
anyway.
Bad.
So it's not there, but we'll make sure it is there because that's right. All of our vocational rehab is through Texas Workforce. So
I love it that you all have all of these languages that for people. That's wonderful. And then please follow us on social media. Thank you very much. We are wonderful. So you want to follow us. And Amy, every time I see the Instagram now, thank you for adding that.
You're welcome.
And then, as you know, this is our fifth one, transition. We're tying this all together, and each of these first four are all hyperlinked with the previous advocate academies from your state. When this one gets sent to you all, I will hyperlink it as well as, you know how I do it. I send out both the YouTube link, and then I also hyperlink it for you. And then I will send out a PDF of these slides. And then we realized that we were just trying to squeeze in a little bit too much before the end of the year. And so that's why we pushed this Advocate Academy to November, and we have pushed our 201 series to January, February of 2021, which is really not that far away since it's Thanksgiving next week. Holy bananas, that's just a lot. What our focus is we wanted to get this beginning part of the advocacy journey down. We wanted parents to understand a little bit more about the law, to find resources to support them. And if they are interested in doing the next step in advocacy, state and local, or maybe even federal advocacy, where we start talking policy, then we will be hosting those advocate academies as well. I'm really excited about these because you all have your legislative session coming up in 2021 in Texas. And I think that we've seen with COVID that there's a lot going on. And so I'm enjoying seeing people engaged. And I truly believe that these will be excellent advocate academies for everyone. So we haven't decided the dates yet, because we just haven't yet, but I promise we will get you those dates and we will make sure that you all know all about them. So, and then thank you very much. This was very quick. And yeah, so we're going to open up for questions, and let me stop recording, everyone.
Yeah, and I'll say kind of as a little plug for our 201 and our spring semester, if you will,